Thank you for joining us again tonight. We are actually away from the fireplace and we are actually traveling. We've missed the last 3 nights because we've been traveling extensively. We didn't get in till 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. We've been with pastors and other clergymen involved in nightly activities. But tonight we're going to pick back up in Genesis chapter 15, where it is the covenant relationship that God wants to create through Abraham with all mankind. As we mentioned before, in a covenant relationship, there's a stronger party, which is God, and the weaker party, which is man. And in a covenant relationship, they exchange things. They exchange rings, which represent authority. They exchange their money pouch, which is wealth. They exchange their weapons, which represents their willingness to fight for us. Now, isn't that wonderful that God wants to enter into a relationship where He will exchange His riches, His wealth, His authority, and empower us with that to do battle against the sin and evil of this time. So He gets Abraham and He says to get the sacrifices, the 5 sacrifices, which is grace, and Abraham opens them up and splits the one innocent sacrifice into 2. And then God says, now we're going to cut covenant. And to do that, in an agreement, you walk through the blood of the innocent sacrifice, and through the one that became 2, now in that blood, the 2 now come back together and become one. The different parties, man and God, fuse to become one together in that covenant relationship. So God does this. And while Abraham prepares the sacrifices, keeps the fowl of the air off of them, then God puts him to sleep. And while Abraham's asleep, he has a dream. And it's a dark dream. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp passed through the pieces. But when it went down, that deep sleep fell upon Abraham, and a horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he basically said, Abraham, I know surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and thou shalt serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they will serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. And thou shalt go to their fathers in peace, and thou shalt be buried in a good old age. This was a dream that Abraham was having, kind of a night vision that God had given him. But basically in that vision, God basically assured Abraham several things. Number 1, here this childless old man and old woman were going to have children, and not only just children, out of those children would ultimately become a great nation in 400 years. He would also give them the land of Canaan. He promised that in that vision. He said, you're going to come out with great substance, great wealth. So God has given him provision as well. He promised him that you're going to live to be an old man. So he gave him old age. And he gave him that old age because he's already old, but he needed to raise his kids and his grandchildren and his great-grandchildren. He said, I'm going to give you that strength, and I'm going to let my peace be upon you. And so now in that vision, even though it was great darkness for ultimately Israel, it was also a source of a promise that God was given to Abraham. Tomorrow night we're going to finish up with why did God put Abraham to sleep? And the smoking furnace representing God, the burning lamp representing Jesus, walked through the sacrifice.